The Abyss is James Cameron's underwater masterpiece, a film so grueling to make that its stars still refuse to talk about it. But its story is full of secrets fans rarely hear. Did you know the entire original ending, a wall of tidal waves poised to destroy every city on Earth, was cut out of the movie theaters ever saw? Or that a real rat actually breathed liquid on camera, and Cameron gave it CPR? 16 facts, starting with the ending you never saw. 16. The cut ending. Watch the theatrical ending. The alien's ship rises gently from the deep. The crew is saved. Awe and relief. Now here's the ending Cameron actually shot and then cut. In the original climax, the aliens, disgusted by humanity's nuclear brinkmanship, raise monstrous tidal waves hundreds of feet tall and freeze them in place, hanging over New York, Tokyo, and every coastal city on Earth, poised to wipe out civilization in an instant. They stop only because they witness Bud's selfless sacrifice 2 miles down and choose to spare humanity. It's a full apocalyptic Close Encounters style finale. And theatrical audiences never saw a second of it. Here's why it vanished. Cameron previewed the film before the tidal wave effects were finished, and test audiences watching unfinished shots listed them as the scenes they liked least. A Fox executive gave him an ultimatum, so Cameron cut the entire sequence, dumping the movie's whole thematic payoff. He later admitted he'd made cuts he should have, but the wave haunted him. In 1993, he restored it as a 28-minute longer special edition, the version he prefers to this day. The movie you saw in 1989 was missing its own ending. 15. That rat really breathes liquid. And Cameron gave it CPR to save it. Watch the unforgettable scene where a Navy SEAL demonstrates liquid breathing by submerging a rat in fluid. And the rat, panicking, actually breathes it and survives. Here's the reveal. That's real. The production used genuine oxygenated fluorocarbon fluid, a real experimental substance that Duke University scientists consulted on, and the rat genuinely breathed liquid on camera. And there's a detail even the scene hides from you. The reason the film cuts away to the actors' faces mid-demonstration is to avoid showing the terrified rats defecating as they start to breathe. During filming, one rat nearly drowned, and James Cameron, of all people, personally gave the rodent CPR, saved its life, and then kept it as a pet. The man notorious for punishing his human cast performed mouth-to-mouth on a rat. 14. Ed Harris nearly drowned for real, then punched Cameron in the face. Watch Bud Brigman fight for his life underwater and know that Ed Harris genuinely nearly died making it. During one submerged take, Harris ran out of air and signaled for oxygen, but the crew member was tangled on a cable. A second person rushed him a regulator and handed it to him upside down, sending water pouring down his throat. A third finally righted it. Harris made it to the surface and, by multiple accounts, broke down sobbing in his car afterward. And when he learned that Cameron had kept the cameras rolling while he was nearly dying, Harris reportedly punched the director in the face. To this day, Harris refuses to discuss the film, saying only, "I'm not talking about The Abyss, and I never will." 13. The whole movie was shot in an unfinished nuclear reactor. Watch the vast, dark, crushing underwater void the crew descends into, that impossible sense of depth. And no, it's not the ocean, and it's not a normal tank. The production couldn't find a tank big enough, so Cameron took over the never-completed containment vessel of an abandoned nuclear power plant in Gaffney, South Carolina, and filled it with over 7 million gallons of water, creating the largest freshwater filtered tank in the world at the time. The reactor that was built to hold nuclear fuel instead became the ocean floor of an alien contact movie. To make the water pitch black and bottomless like the deep sea, they covered the enormous tank with millions of tiny black plastic beads and a giant tarp, turning a monument to atomic power into the abyss itself. 12. The chlorine bleached the actors' hair white and burned their skin. Watch the cast spend the whole film submerged, and know what that water was doing to them. To keep 7 million gallons clean, the tank was heavily chlorinated, so heavily that it began chemically attacking the cast and crew. The chlorine burned the diver's skin and actually bleached the actor's hair, stripping the color out of it. Some had to dye their hair back between shooting days to maintain continuity. It got worse. A lightning strike tore a hole in the black tarp covering the tank, and rather than lose the blackwater effect during daylight, the entire production was forced to switch to shooting only at night. Grueling overnight schedules that shattered everyone's sleep. The water they lived in was slowly, chemically bleaching them. 11. The pseudopod is the ancestor of the T-1000, and modern CGI itself watched the film's showstopper. The pseudopod, a snaking tentacle of seawater that rises into deep core, mirrors the crew's faces on its rippling surface, and moves with liquid intelligence. Here's its real significance. That single effect, created by industrial light and magic, and taking about 6 months to produce, was a genuine watershed for computer animation. It was one of the first convincing CG water/morphing characters ever put on screen, and it won the Oscar for Best Visual Effects. And watch what it led to directly. Cameron and ILM took the exact morphing technology they invented for the pseudopod and used it 2 years later to create the liquid metal T-1000 in Terminator 2. Every shimmering, morphing digital effect that followed descends from this one tentacle of water. You're watching the birth of modern CGI. 10. The resuscitation scene was so real, the actress stormed off. Set watched the film's most harrowing scene. Bud tries to revive Lindsay, who has deliberately drowned so her body could be dragged to the only working airlock. He slaps her, screams in her face, and pounds on her chest, refusing to let her die. Ed Harris and Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio committed so totally that it stopped being acting. Harris really slapped her, really screamed, really pounded her chest, and then the gut punch. Partway through this brutal, exhausting scene, the camera ran out of film without anyone telling Mastrantonio. When she found out she'd have to do it all again, she stormed off the set, by some accounts screaming, "We are not animals!" It's why the scene feels so unbearably raw. You're watching two actors past the edge of their endurance, and a performance that genuinely cost them. 9. Cameron nearly drowned too, and had to punch his own safety diver watch the film, knowing the director shared his cast's danger. During one deep dive on the massive set, Cameron ran low on air, because the assistant director assigned to monitor his oxygen had literally gone off the clock and left. As Cameron struggled toward the surface, a safety diver, mistaking his distress for panic, grabbed and held him in place, trying to help but actually trapping him. Running out of air and options, Cameron drew on his diver training and punched the safety diver in the face to break free and reach the surface. An hour after nearly dying, he was back directing. It's the ultimate emblem of the shoot. Even the man inflicting the ordeal nearly became its victim. Quick decompression stop. If this deep dive is earning it, hit like and subscribe, because we go inside a movie like this every week. Now, back down to deep core, starting with the fake word the whole cast used to survive. 8. Ed Harris isn't breathing liquid, he's holding his breath in a flooded helmet. Watch the astonishing sequence where Bud descends into the black chasm breathing liquid oxygen, his helmet full of fluid, and know that Ed Harris couldn't actually breathe it. No human safely could. So for those shots of Bud with a helmet full of liquid, Harris was simply holding his breath, his head submerged in a helmet full of water, being dragged along on cables, take after take, for as long as his lungs could stand it. There's no movie magic making him breathe. There's just an actor with his face in water, refusing to flinch, holding out until the shot was done. It's a big part of why the sequence feels so genuinely suffocating. Because for the man in the suit, it was. 7. The nuclear-armed SEAL's breakdown is based on a real diving syndrome. Watch Michael Bihn's Lieutenant Coffee slowly unravel. Paranoid, twitchy, dangerous, eventually ready to nuke the aliens. It looks like standard movie villain madness, but it's grounded in real science. Coffee is suffering from high-pressure nervous syndrome, a genuine physiological condition that can affect divers at extreme depths, causing tremors, confusion, and psychological disturbance. The film deliberately uses a real, deep-diving hazard as the engine of its human threat. The danger isn't just the aliens or the ocean, it's what the crushing pressure of the deep does to the human mind. Watch Coffee's shaking hands, an actual documented symptom, and the film's horror becomes clinical. The abyss doesn't just kill the body, it breaks the brain. 6. The aliens were played by real people, real puppets, and glowing water. Watch the luminous alien NT-is glide through deep core and appreciate the layered trickery holding them together. Because the fully computer-generated creatures of the era were still primitive, the aliens are a hybrid. Some shots use intricate puppets and miniatures, some use actual performers, and the glowing, translucent quality comes from clever underwater lighting and practical effects blended with the era's earliest CGI. The famous water pseudopod aside, most of the alien presence you feel is built from real, physical craft, a reminder that even this CGI pioneering film leaned heavily on things that actually existed in front of the camera. Cameron reached for the computer only where nothing physical could do the job. 5. The cast's misery is the reason the marriage feels so real. Watch the raw, furious fights between Bud and Lindsay, the estranged married couple screaming at each other across deep core, and understand that you're not just watching great acting. The cast was genuinely at the absolute end of their endurance. 14-hour days underwater, chlorine burns, near drownings, no daylight, decompression sickness. That real, unfaked exhaustion bled directly into the performances. When Bud and Lindsay rage at each other, it doesn't feel like a scripted, troubled marriage subplot. It feels like two people who have spent weeks in a chlorinated tank and are truly at their breaking point. Cameron's brutal shoot, whatever its human cost, produced something you can't fake. Genuine, bone-deep weariness that anchors the whole film's emotional core. The suffering is on screen. 4. Cameron directed while hanging upside down in a decompression rig. Watch the seamless underwater direction and picture how it was actually achieved. The crew spent so many hours at depth that they regularly had to undergo decompression before surfacing, including Cameron himself. So the director would review his dailies through a glass window while decompressing, and reportedly hung upside down to relieve the crushing pressure the heavy diving helmet put on his neck and shoulders. Picture the most demanding director in Hollywood watching his own footage inverted, like a bat, inside a decompression chamber, because that was the only way to keep working without surfacing. It's an image that captures the whole insane production. A filmmaker so committed, he directed a movie from inside the same pressurized hell he was putting everyone else through. 3. 1989 was flooded with underwater movies. And this is the only one that mattered. Watch The Abyss. And no, it wasn't alone. 1989 saw a bizarre glut of deep-sea creature and thriller films rush out at once. Leviathan, Deep Star 6, Lords of the Deep, The Evil Below. A whole wave of underwater movies hitting theaters and video stores in the same brief window. Most of them cheap, most of them forgotten, most of them losing money. It's a strange, half-remembered phenomenon. For 1 year, Hollywood collectively went to the bottom of the sea. And The Abyss towers over all of them as the only one anybody remembers or considers a genuine film. The others were mostly quick cash-ins racing to beat Cameron to theaters. His was the one built to last. When a bunch of movies chase the same idea at once, usually only one survives. This was the survivor. 2. The special edition's ending was dedicated to a dead cast member. Watch the restored special edition ending and know there's a quiet tragedy behind its very existence. When Cameron went back in 1992 to rebuild the cut tidal wave finale, he discovered the original production sound for parts of it had been lost, so dialogue had to be re-recorded. But one actor couldn't come back to re-loop his lines. Kid Brewer Jr., who played a government official, had died of a self-inflicted gunshot in the intervening years. Unable to record him fresh, the editors had to painstakingly lift his original voice from surviving optical sound prints of the old dailies. In tribute, Cameron dedicated the entire special edition to Brewer's memory. The restored ending fans celebrate Carrie's Invisibly, a memorial to a man who didn't live to see it finished. 1. The most miserable shoot in Hollywood created something genuinely beautiful. Step back, and The Abyss holds a strange dual legacy. On one hand, it's remembered as one of the most punishing, dangerous, miserable productions in film history. A shoot the crew nicknamed Variations of the Abuse, where actors nearly died, marriages frayed, and two of its stars still won't discuss it decades later. On the other hand, all that suffering produced something remarkable. A groundbreaking, Oscar-winning effects milestone that birthed modern CGI. And, beneath the spectacle, a genuinely moving story about a broken marriage, sacrifice, and the choice to reach out to something we don't understand instead of destroying it. Cameron pushed everyone, including himself, to the edge of drowning to capture a reality no soundstage could fake. The cost was enormous, and by most accounts, indefensible. But the thing they dragged up from the bottom of that tank endures. Sometimes the most beautiful films are born from the ugliest shoots. Those were 16 facts most fans have never heard about The Abyss. Which one got you? The tidal wave ending they cut, or Cameron giving a rat CPR? Send your answer up to the surface in the comments. If this earned it, hit like, subscribe, and send it to the friend who still can't believe they shot it in a nuclear react. Until next time, we all see what we want to see.